Hey everyone, and welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name's Kyle West. Alongside me is Adam Carlson. We're coming at you guys after the Minnesota Vikings pick up a win, 34-24 over the Detroit Lions. You ready to talk about this game, Adam?
No, but for you guys, I can do it.
Ha. We can squeeze something out for this, right?
That's right. I'm like your orange. Give me a squeeze, I'll give you some juice.
I don't know what to make of that, but I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Put it on some t-shirts and let's sell that.
Yeah, that's our new slogan. Uh, as you can see, we're both pretty excited coming in. There was a lot of question marks coming into this game, and we didn't know what we were going to expect. And thankfully, the Vikings had listened to last week's show and improved upon pretty much everything we said they needed to improve upon.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick minute here and let's do like we usually do. Let's give away our game ball and let's name a donkey. Who do you have your game ball going to this week?
Well, I'm going to go to Kyle Rudolph for my game ball. He had seven
Okay.
receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. And I had sent out a tweet earlier in the day where I said that one of these three players, either Jarius Wright, Kyle Rudolph, or Jerome Simpson, has to step up if the Minnesota Vikings are going to win. And we seen both Jarius Wright, Kyle Rudolph, and Jerome Simpson. All three of them actually did step up to the plate and did their part. I just think that Kyle Rudolph was the one who really stepped it up and showed what he can mean to this offense.
I was gonna give you the meatloaf and say that 2 out of 3 wasn't bad there because I didn't see Jerome Simpson contributing as much as he probably should have.
He didn't.
I
He
felt
still he still had a better game than what he had last week. So
definitely.
he's going in the right direction with it. Who do you got for us for the game ball, Adam?
Well, it's weird we're talking about wide receivers because I'm giving my game ball to Christian Ponder.
Good.
24 for 32. That's a 75% completion ratio. That you can't do much better than that. He had 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 rushing yards, and he completed passes to 10 different receivers, including himself.
Well, let's not talk about that one.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun to see the ball batted back and for him to catch it.
Hey,
Batting it down was probably a smarter move,
at
but
least he didn't try to do a Curtis Painter and try to like catch it and then rethrow it.
throw it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't work too well. But let's go into talking about our donkeys now. If you are a first-time listener, which I'm assuming you're not, because I'm betting you listen to us all the time,
Oh yeah,
like
you
every
should
week.
definitely listen to us each and every week.
But our donkey of the week is a title that we give to the player that we feel didn't play as well as they should have or needs improvement. And let's see who Kyle has this week.
Well, I'm going to go with Stephen Burton. With Percy Harvin being out, as we needed, someone on the team to step up, and Stephen had at least one big target that was thrown his way, and he doesn't catch the pass. So, I mean, you gotta, when the ball gets thrown your way, especially when someone like Percy is out, man, you gotta step up to the plate and catch the ball. And we really haven't seen a whole heck of a lot from Stephen this season. He's not doing much with his opportunity.
Definitely, this was a big opportunity for him to step up, at least even catch one football,
Hmm.
and show, hey, I deserve to have a place here. And he couldn't complete it, and it makes him look kind of not good. And my donkey of the week is Charlie Johnson. No, I'm kidding. Although it probably should be because he didn't really do that much better this week.
No,
But I'll lay
I've
off
seen
him a
one
little
good
bit.
block from Charlie.
I'll lay off him a little bit, and I'll give my donkey award to Jared Allen this week. He had one tackle. He struggled to get to the quarterback against a weak Lions offensive line. It was really disappointing for me. I saw a lot more of Brian Robinson and Everson Griffin, and I am really wondering if Jared Allen's contract at his age, with his current productivity, not looking at what he did last year, but with his current productivity, if he's really worth that kind of investment.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and that's a subject that we'll probably touch upon a little bit during next week's show, because we got the bye week, so we can spend a little extra time talking about that. So I'll save my Jared Allen comments for a little bit later.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we can jump right in and talk about a little bit of the offense if you like.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and why don't we start with Christian Ponder? Because that seems like the logical first place to talk about here. A lot of people were very critical about Ponder for the past couple of weeks, and rightfully so. He's looked a little wonky and a little off at times. And well, he came back this week, and you gave his stats. He throws for 221 yards, two touchdowns, and zero interceptions. So yeah, he came back and he proved that he can be a big time starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings when he plays well.
He sure can be. What I really like from him is his poise. Even when he was throwing interceptions and when he was scrambling out of the pocket, he still had that confidence about him. And that's what I like from him is that even though it seems like the results have been different over every game, he has been consistent enough in the way he approaches games, the way he plays games. It's just sometimes the defense has taken advantage of it and gotten interceptions. Sometimes the offense is really clicking and wide receivers make plays for balls. I'm not seeing a whole lot of just erratic play, and that's what I like to see. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Christian Ponder later because I have a nice little end rant about him, and I
Cool.
think that'll be fun. But in the meantime, we got to remember that Ponder is young. I know we say it every week. He's a young quarterback. This is his first year named as the starter at the beginning of the season. He had his first off season to work with players. His supporting cast not the best, but he's working with it.
hmm
But overall, just he's got to have time. He's got to grow. He's got to develop.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people throwing out the 2 years on Christian Ponder, and they say, "Oh, well, he's in his second year with the Minnesota Vikings," and I don't necessarily agree with that because you look at I mean, it's technically correct when you say that he's in his second season, but really, in my opinion, this is an extension of his rookie season. After what he had to go through last year with, the lockout and not getting the any kind of training camp time, and coming in and having to take over for Donovan and just everything that went on last year. I really look at this as he's still in the extension of his rookie growing pains right now. So that's
Right. I see
why
it the same way you do.
yeah. So I mean, we're critical, we're definitely critical when he makes mistakes, but I don't think I take it to heart as much as what some other fans are doing with Ponder at the moment.
Did you see Ponder's interview after the game?
I haven't listened to it yet, but it was all over Twitter. The comments he made about his girlfriend, and I think that's just
Oh
funny as
yeah, that's a
hell.
big one out there.
Yeah,
I think it's hilarious.
yeah, it
The
is.
first thing he did was he thanked his girlfriend
Yeah.
because he said that because she was so important to how he played because the media's been grabbing a hold of that.
Uh-huh.
The whole Samantha Steele thing, the foxy girl that does the college game day stuff. I'm allowed to say foxy, right? That's not
I think we're
a
allowed to use
derogatory
we're
term.
allowed to use the word foxy.
I don't see that term as being derogatory. But okay, if any ladies take offense to that, let me know and I'll stop saying foxy. I know it's probably like 1960s word, but oh well. So we've seen Ponder play better. What I saw was a lot of really weird formations from the Vikings, and it was nice to see them come out in something different. Did you notice in a lot of the running plays that you had Jerome Felton and Rhett Ellison blocking
Yeah.
for Adrian Peterson?
Adrian likes having that lead blocker. He really does. And so that's good when you're listening to your star player and you're going, hey, here's two guys who can block. We're going to put them out there for you. We're going to open up the ground game. And Adrian responds with 171 yards and a touchdown. I mean, yeah, it's keep up the good work, Bill Musgrave. That's my thoughts on that one.
Now this is really different because Adrian Peterson in the past preferred not having that fullback, not having that lead tight end. He preferred doing it by himself and having the wide receivers as distractions. So this is a bit of a change in fundamentals for this team.
hmm
And what's nice about it too is when you got guys like Rhett Ellison, Jerome Felton, not only are those guys that can help in the running game and make big blocks, both of them are able to catch passes out of the backfield if it is a pass play. Both of them are very good at pass blocking. These are guys that are very versatile. You're not going to see them in the stat books getting multiple touchdowns. You're not going to see them rushing for 100 yards. But these are the guys down in the trenches that do the work, and you don't see the productivity, but they're important and they're there.
Jim Kleinsasser, basically. I mean, there was a guy who was with Minnesota for a number of years, and no, doesn't really show up in the stats, and doesn't, he's not going to make the highlight reel on the NFL Network. But here was a guy who meant a great deal to the team, and it's nice to see, a couple of the younger players kind of stepping up and filling in that void that, Jim Kleinsasser left with his team when he retired.
Definitely, and he did leave a big hole.
Yeah.
They were really hoping that when they drafted Red Ellison, they were drafting the guy to replace him. And from what I've seen from him this season, he may not replace him, but he'll definitely be a good substitute.
hmm
And let's talk about John Carlson returning this week. How do you feel about that?
John Carlson equals production. um, one catch for 11 yards, and you say that he was good in the blocking game, so hey, I'll take your word for it. I really wasn't paying that close of attention to John Carlson in the blocking scheme, but hey, whatever gets it done, right? I'm just glad that he's doing something for the team. So
Hey, I'm the big guy. I'm the former offensive lineman. I kind of look in there. You're the littler guy. You're looking at the running backs and the wide
yeah,
receivers.
I'm a running back guy. That's my favorite position to watch. So.
But it was nice to see John Carlson pick up that first down. It was a nice 11-yard play. He outran the defender, went around. It seems like he's finally getting healthy, and I really like that he can be a part of this team.
Yeah.
For what he's getting paid, he should contribute more.
hmm
But we're seeing him finally starting to step in some of these two tight end sets that we also saw. And that's a little different too, because we haven't seen a ton of those this year. And now that we're seeing all these new formations, it's really got to be confusing opposing defenses.
hmm There was an interesting point that I wanted to bring up to kind of see what your opinion was, and now seems like the perfect time to fit it in. Do
All
you,
right.
and this is what the announcers were talking about during the football game, do you think that it actually helped the Vikings to not have Percy Harvin on the field for one game because of the fact that it forced them to be more creative and spread the ball out to different players? Do you think that was actually helped them?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to use this as I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about this, and I hope it makes sense. Okay, let's say that you're dating this girl, right? And you date this girl, you love this girl, you take her out on so many dates, and you've been together for a while, and you're enjoying each other's company. Then all of a sudden, she breaks up with you. Now you're supposed to be crushed, right?
Oh,
But you
definitely.
shouldn't be, because there's so many other girls out there. So, you go out on a couple dates with that one, you go out on a couple dates with this one, you spread around the love, right?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, Adam. This is a really good analogy. I know where you're going with this one.
And that's exactly what I mean, is when you don't have to cue in on one thing, you can finally appreciate the rest of the things you have going on around you.
Yeah, and then in 2 weeks from now, when we play the Chicago Bears, our old girlfriend gets to come back, and we, and we get to go have some fun with her again. But
This might be one of the weirdest segments we've ever done.
oh, it really does make sense though. And I do is strange as we get back to football here for a minute. Is as strange as it sounds, it actually was good for Harvin to not be here for one game, so that it kind of forced the team to prove to themselves that they can do it without him. Now he
Right.
needs to come back and have a really good game against Chicago because the offense still needs to run through Percy Harvin, but it does show that the ball needs to be spread out to the other girls in the ocean, if you will.
The other fish in the sea.
Yeah.
Well, offensively, the only other thing I wanted to talk about was the guys that were out in place, or Harvin was out, and the guys that had to step up. But we did a pretty good job talking about that. Everybody catching passes, Christian Ponder catching passes. Well, pass.
For negative 15 yards.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's not a
we
very
got to
good
talk
yardage.
about Jarius Wright before we move on to the defense because I think
No, let's skip
just skip him.
him.
Just
Yeah.
Jarius who? Who was that? No, Jarius Wright. We've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. Why isn't this cat activated on the roster? Why is he not playing? And he showed that he's got speed. He's got the ability to get separation, which is more than a lot of the other receivers on this team, don't, Michael Jenkins doesn't, he's not going to get separation. Jarius Wright can do that. Maybe he drops a pass here or there, but you know what? He's still a more viable option than most of the other guys on this team. So he needs to continue to be active and be a part of the game plan when Percy Harvin comes back, and I really hope that the Vikings do that.
Well, one of the big knocks on Jarius Wright when he came was that he dropped passes and he was Percy Harvin light or Percy Harvin Jr., however you want to say
Yep.
it. And I can see the similarities. I actually said that on the show even several times, that he's Percy Harvin insurance. But there's no reason they can't both be on the field at the same time.
hmm
And that's something that we might see the offense get a little more creative with in the future, hopefully.
I think you should. Like if Bill Musgrave is any kind of an offensive coordinator, if he has any shred of creativity, he'll find a package, okay, where you're going to see Jarius Wright, Percy Harvin, Adrian Peterson on the field at the same time. And
Add Kyle Rudolph in there, and you
and
got one heck of a lineup.
Kyle Rudolph out there. Maybe you even got, you got Jerome Simpson as a decoy a little bit. Even though I don't even know how much of a decoy he really is at this point. But it's like, okay, you figure out where that ball is going. It starts to get tough because you've got guys who can make plays. And I'm sorry, Devin Aromashadu can get it done occasionally, but he's not going to get it done most of the time when he's out there. Like, defenses aren't really afraid of Devin Aromashadu. You know what I mean?
Well, let's be a little honest too. A lot of the players right now on the Vikings team are stopgaps.
Yeah.
They're guys that are going to be there until they get young guys to test out
Mm,
and see if they work. And yeah, for now we're going to have to deal with seeing some guys that might not be at the level they should be at, but what can you do right now?
yeah.
I'm sure we're going to see this team draft some new guys next year, and we'll be saying the same thing about the guys from this year, but
hmm
that's the way the NFL is. It's a cycle.
And my whole take on it is, well, if Jarius is going to, okay, if he drops passes every now and then when they get thrown his way, why not have him go out there and learn right now? Because the best way to learn how to do something is to do it. So let's just get him out on the field, get the drops over with, instead of prolonging it and make him sit his entire rookie season, and then he comes back next season and they slowly work him in, and then he's still got the drops because he hasn't really done much in a true game time. So why not just let him get that out of the way right now and find out what he's got and what he can
Well, we
do
never
and
really
what
got
he
to
can
see
bring to this team.
in the close practices. We never really got to see what they were working on with him, why they were holding him back.
hmm
And maybe they were working on drops. Maybe they were working on route running. Maybe they were working on blocking down the field. We have really no way of knowing. But what we can know is from what we saw in the game today, that whatever they were working on, I think they've got it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I think it was Tom Pelissero who said on Twitter that route that Jarius ran, the first throw, the deep pass that went to him,
Right,
they had worked on that pregame, and Jarius had dropped, like he dropped it, like it was incomplete when they were working on it beforehand. But
right.
it could be that he's one of those players that just doesn't practice well.
He's going
But
to Tebow it.
well, no, let's not go that low with this. But some players just realistically don't practice that well. They got to have the pressure of an actual game on them, and you see the game lights are on, and Jarius makes a big time catch, and then he goes in, right back after that, and he gets a touchdown. And he was quieter for the rest of the game, a little more quieter than what I would have liked to seen, but still, at least you got production from him early. So I was really pleased with what I seen from Jarius.
All right, let's take a jump in and talk about some of the defense now because the defense, they bent, but they didn't exactly break. We saw a much improved rush defense this week. I don't know if Fred Evans was stepping up or if it was a weakness of the Lions' offensive line or what the deal was, but we did see this Vikings defense control the run much better. But what we did see is we saw the defense collapse a bit and fall apart a bit in the passing game. But you gotta understand that when you come to a guy like Calvin Johnson,
Hmm.
he's one of those guys that you can do your best, and that's probably not going to be good enough.
Madden curse or not, he still had 207 yards and a touchdown uh, in this game. So yeah, you're right. He's a guy that he's tough to stop, and not having Chris Cook matched up against him was a disadvantage for the Vikings. Otherwise, I liked what I seen from Chad Greenway. He had a really good game. He got an interception. That
Yeah.
was that was Greenway's first interception in what, 2 seasons, I think.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, headed in the right direction. I was impressed with what's his name, AJ Jefferson too.
Adrian Jefferson played really well against him in the first half. He's
Yeah.
got a bigger frame, which allows him to match up better against some of these guys. And I think he's one of those guys that, sure, the Vikings may look to improve at corner, but I don't see them letting him go. He's great for depth. He's great for playing the slot man. He's great for playing outside. He matches up well against the big receivers. He can keep up with the smaller
Hmm.
receivers. He's so versatile. He'll be a great addition to this team.
Yeah.
And let's talk about another Viking that had a really excellent day and one that I was wearing the jersey of today, and that is Mr. Antoine Winfield.
Oh yeah.
At his age, he should not be having the kind of games he is. He shouldn't
Hey.
be everywhere making tackles, making plays, running balls into the end zone that aren't exactly touchdowns.
Oh man, how cool would that play have been if that actually was like a legitimate interception that bounced off another player's foot and into his arms, and he runs it. That would have been cool, but it's really heads up on his part to even
Well,
run it
I
in
think
like
they
that.
knew it hit the ground, and
Yeah.
that's why he was standing there. But when the whistle wasn't blown, you take off.
It's
You
like,
you
yeah,
do.
go for it. You go for that end zone and let them rule it a touchdown and then figure out what to do after the fact. So, yeah, he's
The
we're
safeties looked a little confused today, especially in the long passing game. We saw Calvin Johnson split between them, and at his height, with his size, if you don't have that corner underneath and the safety right on top, Calvin Johnson is going to make the play. It's going to happen.
hmm
He's a freak.
yeah.
Other than that, we saw Stafford not get pressured as much as I thought he would. I really thought the front four would get to him a lot more than they did. And so that was disappointing. I expected a lot more sacks this game. But the fact that the secondary played well enough to allow the coverage to keep him from making good passes, that was good enough for me.
Yeah, and because let's face it, coming into the season, our coverage on wide receivers is not going to be the strong point of what the Vikings are doing defensively.
No,
So, yeah, that's good. That's improvement. Improvement is the word of the show apparently, because I keep saying it, but it's true.
it's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You know who's going to have a hard time improving on his rookie season, though?
I
Is
don't know.
rookie kicker Blair Walsh.
Oh, yeah, he's just automatic. I don't even.
4 for 4 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. We are really taking for granted how good this kid is.
Yeah, we really are, because we could spend every show just doing a segment talking about just how he's playing like he's been in this league for 10 years. I mean, it's just crazy to think that he's a rookie and he's only going to get better.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So he's going to find his rhythm. He's going to be one of those guys that hopefully is with the team for a long time.
Oh, he will be. And
And then we saw
Chris
that's where I
Cluey,
was going next.
yeah, he must have been thinking about punting a whole heck of a lot this week because because he had a good game punting, I would say.
He also had an excellent tackle to maybe save a touchdown.
Did he? I missed it.
Yeah, he brought down a returner.
Oh man, I gotta go back and see if I can find that highlight on the
I,
internet someplace.
I was very impressed. He went right at him. Most punters kind of like dive down for the legs, but no, not
Not
Cluey. He was
Cluey.
actually talking. I think it was maybe a month or two ago about how in practices he was working on his tackling, and I'm glad he did.
Oh, it's so funny to watch Cluey at practice when he's out there. They give him the great big oversized pad, and he has to stand out after he gets done punting, and he's got to stand out there and let like other people just run into him for the remainder of the practice. It's really quite funny.
So that's pretty much what we saw from special teams. Harvin was out, so Sherelle was handling pretty much everything, and he was reasonable, nothing special. I miss Harvin back there returning. I do. I mean, I know I'm against it, but he is amazing back there.
Hey, we got Christian Ballard on special teams who can run him in. He'll be Devin Hester. Watch out. We got Christian Ballard.
And let's handle next week's preview.
Next week's preview is the bye week special, where we talk
Yay.
about topics that are to be determined because we don't quite know yet what we're going to be talking about.
Who knows? Maybe we might play Truth or Dare or Spin the Bottle. Who
I,
knows?
I am not playing spin the bottle with you, Adam.
Oh.
That will not be happening.
So let's go into our end rants then. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I got just a small one. The one that I wanted to do to talk about here is everyone who was so hard on Christian Ponder for the past couple of weeks, talking about Joe Webb this and MBT that, and bench
Oh,
him,
don't forget the guy that was talking about Vince Young.
Vince Young, yeah, all that business. Where are you guys now? Can you at least come out and say, hey, I don't like Ponder, but I got to admit he had a good game. Like, can you guys do that for us? At least be man enough to say that, hey, he can get it done. Maybe I don't think he'll get it done all of the time, but some of the time, like, where are you guys at now? You just fall quiet as soon as he does good, and like you will not say anything until he does something bad. Like, I don't know, that drives me nuts. Like, I hate that.
So that's what you got.
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right, so here's mine. Ponder criticizers are quiet. The thing is you either like Christian Ponder as a quarterback or you don't. Don't let one game decide how you feel about a player. If that's how you're going to judge a football player in the NFL, then your opinion is not very valid. What you have to do is you have to look at the big picture and make your decision. Then stick with it.
Hmm.
Say, hey, he's not very good. I don't like him. But guess what? If you get a big enough sample to where you're like, okay, he's improved a lot. I'm starting to like him a little bit. That's fine. But don't flip flop and be a fair weather fan of a guy. Don't be like, oh, Christian Ponder, he had such a good game. He's back. Yay. And then try to forget about all the nasty things he said about him the weeks before. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
yeah.
You
I
wouldn't do
mean,
that to your friends, would you?
I would hope not. I mean, it's if you're gonna blame Christian Ponder's playing like crap because he has a girlfriend one week, and then the next week it's, oh man, I'm so glad that he's throwing for 221 yards and two touchdowns. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't have, like you said, Adam, you either like the player or you don't like the player, and pick a side and stay on it.
Right. I'm not going to go this week and say, oh, Charlie Johnson had a couple blocks, and I'm a Charlie Johnson fan. No,
Yeah,
guess what? I still don't like the guy.
yeah,
I think he's bad for the guard position. And I can see how people would feel that way about Ponder. It's a
mhm,
quarterback position. And if they have an opinion and they can express it in a logical way and explain to me why they feel that way, I can accept that. I don't have to agree with it, but I can accept it. That's what makes us people and adults.
Yeah, and I think the difference is that you can admit that if Charlie Johnson has a good game, you can say, man, I don't like Charlie Johnson. I haven't liked the way he's played at all. I think the Vikings need to cut him after this season. But he did have a couple key blocks in that game that helped Minnesota. Like, I know
Right.
you can say that, Adam. So
Definitely.
that's the difference.
And I'd like to see more fans like that
Hmm.
rather than just being pessimistic boo birds and when things go bad they're terrible, but when things go great they're not bad.
Yeah.
You know, be yourself.
Hmm.
I guess that's what I'm asking. Don't be overcritical and be yourself. And I think that's all I have for this week's show. Do you have anything to add?
Nope. I think we pretty much covered everything until we stop recording, and then inevitably we'll think of like five other topics that we should have covered, but
Well, we talked about dating. We talked about playing spin the bottle and truth or dare.
we talked about
Uh,
fish.
yeah. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think so too. We got our John Carlson watch in, so pretty solid overall.
I think so. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind everybody we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Purple People Podcast. We're on Twitter at Purple People Pod.
Oh,
And to,
I am gonna
oh,
boast for a minute here, Adam. I am gonna say that you should follow us on Twitter because I kid you guys not, Fran Tarkenton is following the Purple People podcast on Twitter. And if Fran is
excellent.
doing it, I think that means you guys should too.
And something else I think you guys should do is stay classy, Minnesota.